Hey there, good afternoon. I am Maddie Gardner coming to you from the WBTV News Now desk. We are staying on top of some developing news that happened over the weekend. In Florida, a 14-year-old died after he fell from an amusement park ride. This happened at Icon Park in Orlando on the Orlando Free Fall ride. The 14-year-old was up in the air, and when the ride came down, tragically, he came out of his seat and fell to his death. Investigators, of course, looking into this in Florida, but it got us wondering what the standards were for rides here in the Carolinas. We have amusement parks here. Of course, we have fairs as well that have these types of rides. So our Dee Gatton spoke with the Commissioner of Labor for North Carolina about what this inspection looks like for those rides. But first, we want to get you caught up on the very latest in this story out of Florida. And for that, we turn to our CBS station in Orlando.
Again, our hearts are broken for that family of the young man. And again, we're going to do everything we can to work with the investigative authorities to get to the matter of this.
John Stein with the Slingshot Group, which owns and operates the Orlando Freefall Ride here at Icon Park, says the company is fully cooperating with investigators after Orange County deputies say a 14-year-old boy fell off the ride last night. Video posted on social media that's just too graphic to show on TV shows the teen coming out of his seat as the ride was coming down from nearly 400 feet in the air. He later died at the hospital.
Well, there's nothing else we can share at this point. Everything is under investigation at this time.
Jaden Patterson told us he was out here last night before the tragedy happened. He's been on the ride a few times since it opened in December.
It was not really a seatbelt, you know. I noticed that when I was on the ride and stuff like that. But it will make sure it's secure and stuff.
Christian Casabon is visiting from Chile and told us he noticed at least one seat on the attraction was covered with a black trash bag before everything occurred. It caught my attention because this is a new ride and the safety this attraction should have. There was one or two seats that were not operational.
And once again, an investigation is underway about what exactly happened on the Orlando Freefall. It was 430 feet tall. They say it is the tallest freestanding drop tower in the world. And there are questions about the seatbelt. You heard there in that story. There was the bars that went over the shoulders there, but not a seatbelt that snapped into the seat before it went up in the air. So questions about that in that investigation. Dollywood closed a ride that was made by the same manufacturer as the Orlando Freefall over the weekend because they had a similar ride, but that one has closed while this investigation continues. And we talked about how these rides are inspected in North and South Carolina. WBTV's Dee Gatton spoke with the Commissioner of Labor, Josh Dobson, about this. We're going to air part of her interview now, what it takes for a ride to get approved in North Carolina and what you as a rider can look out for before you get on a ride to know that it was inspected. Here's that interview.
What were your first thoughts when you heard about this tragedy in Florida?
It's so tragic, Dee Dee. It breaks your heart because that was someone's son, that was someone's brother or sister, someone's friend, and it just breaks your heart. I watched the video and I've read some things on it, and it's just so sad. You can't capture it, and you can't put anything on it other than just tragic.
And you know, a lot of parents in North Carolina are now thinking, oh, we're entering summer, we're going to amusement parks like Heroines. You know, and they have a lot of concerns. First of all, how do amusement parks like Heroines, how do they choose which rides are going to be at the park?
We are just responsible for the inspection of those rides on the North Carolina side.
Right. And of course, how many amusement parks are in North Carolina? Do you know?
Well, we have the big one, obviously, Heroines, but beyond that, we have the carnivals and fairs that several counties have across the state. And then we have the Mountain State Fair that has rides. And then, of course, we have our big state fair here in Raleigh every year. So those are the main ones that we inspect when it comes to amusement devices.
What's the process of an amusement park to get inspection?
Allow the proper paperwork to us, and we inspect those. Let's take Carowinds, for instance. We inspect those annually, and our inspections start in the control room. We're looking at all of the electrical and power systems. We make sure that none of the electrical lines have been bypassed. We then look at the gate and the fencing around the rides, and then actually our inspectors go up in an inspection bucket and inspect it from the top to the bottom. There's a very rigorous system that goes into place for us to inspect the rides in North Carolina.
Okay. And they would go to the control room at the amusement park?
Correct.
Okay. What are some, you name like a bucket item list of things. What are some of those things that inspectors are checking for?
So we go to the top of the tower and inspect the motor and other mechanical devices. We climb down the tower and examine all points of the wire rope, looking for any fraying or disconnections. We also look at the braking systems that they have. Most drop zones around the country use earth magnet to stop the ride as it comes down the tower. That's a very rigorous process.
Okay, perfect. So how many items do you think are you looking for?
Oh goodness, it's an infinite list. I don't want to put a number on it, but it's a checklist that our inspectors go through every single year at Carowinds.
And what is the goal of this this inspection? Like, what is the goal?
When the end result, as much of what the Department of Labor does, it's dedicated to keeping North Carolinians safe, and that's either on the work site or whatever it may be. And one role in that is amusement device. And what you may not know is our amusement device inspectors are also the same inspectors that inspect our elevators. So they are responsible for the safety of not only every elevator in our state, but also the amusement devices. So to answer your question, the goal of these inspections, these very rigorous inspections in North Carolina, is to make sure when North Carolinians go to a park or they go to the state fair, that they leave the same way that they come, and that's safely.
Okay. And do these inspections check, like, is the person secured, fastened in the ride correctly, as well as like motors and that sort of thing?
It does, and I'm glad you brought up that point. For instance, we don't know all of the details of what happened in Florida, but what we do know is there was no like seat belt. There was a harness, but there was not a seat belt across the rider. North Carolina have both. They have the harness and they have the seat belt, and we do check to make sure that those are installed properly and are at inspection and safety as they should be.
Okay. How does an amusement park get a stamp of approval?
Sure. So after our inspectors do the very rigorous inspection, wins or the state fair or the local carnival, then after we inspect them and everything has been certified and approved, then only then will we certify those rides to put them in operation.
Okay. And do they get like a little badge, or, how can you as a person, a person who goes to the fair, know that this ride has gotten the stamp of approval?
It's actually a sticker that they get that shows that they have the stamp of approval.
So you should look for that before you get on any ride?
Yes.
Okay. And does the Department of Labor come out and do inspections every year?
We do on a site like Carowinds. We do those inspections every single year. Rides that go from carnival to carnival. This is one thing that I'm very proud of in North Carolina. A ride that goes from, say, Mecklenburg County or Iredell County to another county, every time those rides are unbolted and set up somewhere else, we have to go in and inspect them again to make sure that they're safe. So to answer your question, for Carowinds, because it's stationary, we inspect them annually, but the rides that go from county to county or from the Mountain State Fair to the State Fair, we inspect those every single time they're set up.
What safety measures does a place like Carowinds have to abide by?
As far as the rides themselves, well, again, it goes back to your earlier question. Before they can operate those rides, they have to be certified by the North Carolina Department of Labor. So they have to meet those standards before they can operate those rides. And then I'm sure that they have, Carowinds has one of the best full-time maintenance programs in the industry. So they go above and beyond, what we require. So they have internal controls in addition to what the North Carolina Department of Labor does.
Okay. And how many, you said there was like that bucket list of standards. How many items would you say is on that list?
Maybe 100. I don't want to give you an exact number, but it's a lot, roughly 100.
Okay, perfect. Everything checking from like how it operates to, having like all the parts to just, is it safe?
So I'll just run down right quick if that's okay. We are looking at all of the electrical and power systems. We make sure that none of the electrical lines have been bypassed. We then look at the gate and the fencing around the ride. Next, we look at each of the seats and harnessing systems. The drop zone is sectioned into 4 areas, each with 4 seats. The 4 areas can operate independently from one another. Next, we go to the top of the tower and inspect the motor and other mechanical devices, like I said. And then finally, we climb down the tower and examine all for any fraying or disconnections there. We also look at the braking systems. Most drop zones, like I said, around the country use that earth magnet. So the Carowinds rides up to this point has always been clean and found to be in great condition.
So the ride in Florida, it was the ride that, where there was the deadly incident. It was manufactured by Fun Times. That I guess it's a group in Austria. Do you know at the top of your head if any North Carolina amusement parks or anything have rides that are manufactured by that, or would I have to check with the individual?
Not that I'm aware of. Probably would want to confirm that with the individual, but not that I'm aware of here in North Carolina.
Okay. And then finally, is there anything that you as a parent can do to ensure your safety and the safety of your child?
Sure. Anytime you go to an amusement park or go to a carnival or the state fair, make sure to read the rider safety rules. Pay attention to things like height, size requirements, any guidance that is given there. Make sure to follow those rules, and then just be cognizant of your surroundings. And that's what I would recommend.
Perfect. And look for that sticker.
Correct.
Where would it be?
I would think that it would be somewhere on the ride. I would need to get back for an exact location on an exact ride, but somewhere visible on the ride. But let me confirm that.
Okay, perfect.
Once again, Dee Dee Gatton there on your side talking to the Commissioner of Labor about how amusement park rides are inspected in North Carolina after a tragic incident over the weekend in Orlando when a 14-year-old died after falling from a ride. We have more on this story coming up tonight on WBTV News. Dee Dee will have the full report at 5:30, and you can read more about it right now on WBTV.com. This tragic story, but also how you can protect yourself, what to look out for, where that inspection sticker is, and how inspectors really go in and make sure that rides are safe. I'm going to pull up that story for you now on WBTV.com. You can see it is live on our website. Just go to the homepage and search Amusement Park Ride. You will find the very latest information. We will also keep that updated about this investigation that is happening in Florida. Thank you so much for joining me on WBTV News Now on this